What up? This is Rama Screen at Dances with Films. I'm here to celebrate Cowboy and Preacher, the life and times of Pastor Tri Robinson, and I'm here with the director and the pastor himself. How you doing, gentlemen?
Very well,
Good,
thank
good.
you.
Will, let me start with you. How did you come to decide that you wanted to make a documentary about Pastor Tri?
I felt that this issue of environmental stewardship and its relationship with Christianity is basically the most important issue currently facing all of us. And I needed to find someone for the film that I wanted to make who would be the most compelling voice. And I think Tri is that person because he combines an ability to communicate, which is very, very strong, but also a great practical ability to create things, whether this be his sustainable homestead and ranch, or the church that he's created with all the amazing programs that help people and allow his congregation to fulfill themselves by doing that. And so Tri, for me, was always a person who combined the ability to speak and the ability to act, which would make the film as compelling as possible.
Pastor Tri, you came all the way from Idaho. Thank you so much. So, Will mentioned sustainable. For us, learning out there, what is the definition of sustainable farm?
Well, it's really something that just is you're not using up something that you are creating a cycle, really that where the land can renew itself and where the earth can renew itself, and yet it can still sustain life. So
I see. So, I read the synopsis. Looking forward to screening it. But so, why is it that environment has been stigmatized as a liberal thing instead of being viewed as an every people thing?
you know that's a great question, Rama. I mean, it's a mystery to me, really. It's actually a long story, but to make the story short, is that kind of back in the late '80s and in the mid '90s, there was really a push by the moral majority and a group of Christian leaders to connect, faith and politics, and a lot of it, honestly, was over an issue of the sanctity of life, and so their camps were really formed at that time, liberal conservative camps, and the Christians kind of fell into the conservative camp, not kind of, but really did. And so there were certain issues, one of which became the environment, mainly because a lot of the secular environmental agencies were, in the Christians' mind, were more for the earth than it was for humanity. The point was, though, is that really, honestly, if you really care about the sanctity of life, you need to care about the earth, because if the earth goes away, life goes away. And so if anybody should care about the sanctity of life and about this issue of environmental stewardship and sustainability, it really should be authentic Christianity. So.
I'll get back to you, Pastor. Back to you, Will. So, for my fans who are looking forward to seeing this documentary, how do you balance encapsulating Pastor Tri's, a religious aspect and also his environmental pursuit?
Well, the film balances the religious with the environmental through its structure. So, for instance, the pillars of the film, if you like, are 7 Bible studies. Each is about 3 minutes long, and those allow Tri to obviously draw out from the Bible the environmental message and the message of how the environment ties in with Christian moral development and affects other people, i.e., and that obviously has a Christian implication. But what these 7 studies are separated by vignettes, which are essentially segments of the film where it becomes, as it were, kind of Western. To me, this is kind of crucial, because also what we're looking for is a kind of hero, if you like, who can carry the environmental figurehead to new audiences, of whom some are conservative. And the Western hero, I think, is someone we can all bear in mind, and particularly in America, I think, is important. The Western hero is someone who has always lived in balance with nature, and that has become a part of their code of honor and also a part of their masculinity. And so I think we need to get past the idea that we're all consumers and that we get status, as it were, from consuming lots of stuff, to the idea that maybe we're individuals and perhaps should even aspire towards a certain heroic element, and that comes from not consuming things, having a kind of a more stoic kind of code where we can survive with less, but that enhances our quality as a person. And that, I think, comes from the Western vignettes, which in the film. So in other words, you've got this balance to this Bible studies, but then you see cowboys roping cattle. There's branding scenes. There's scenes where Try is on his ranch with the livestock, doing things on his ranch. He's built a lot of stuff on the ranch. You obviously see the landscape within which this all exists. And I think that you've got these two things which work very powerfully together.
Thank you for that. Pastor Try, back to you. So what, can you elaborate a little bit more? What are some of the efforts that you have done or continue doing to recruit some of your fellow Christians to like, hey guys, this is something that we need to put maybe number one, number two on your priority list instead of the bottom?
Well, for one, I've tried to be a model. You know, a little story is that about the year 2000, I'm having a conversation with my 2 adult children about the next election, and we get in this sort of family debate. And they said to me, well, if we vote one way, we feel like we're voting against the environment. I'd raised them in the mountains. You know, it's just our life. That's the way we've lived. But on the other hand, I'm still a pastor of a large evangelical church. And they're saying if we vote one way, we're going to be voting against the environment. If we vote the other way, we're going to be voting against the sanctity of life. We won't vote either way, so we're not voting. And I got upset. I go, what do you mean you're not voting? I mean, I've been a Republican all my life. And they said, they challenged me, and they said, you know, you need to go, Dad, you know, you need to look at the Bible and see what it says about God and his creation and the environment. And on why is it that in our whole life growing up in church, we've never heard any pastor, any evangelical pastor ever preach a message about the stewardship of the earth. And so I took the challenge. In 6 months, I studied the Bible again, and I highlighted the Bible in green everywhere I saw, you know, a command or anything about caring for the land or create, and the whole Bible was getting pretty green, you know, New Testament and Old Testament. So I said, I've got to do something about this. Already I had tried it, you know, I'm kind of an environmentalist in a sense in my own life. I've always lived with the land. And I say I'm not living off the land, but with it, and caring for it and stewarding it. But then I wanted to bring it into my church. So I preached this message in my church and challenged them to look at the scriptures again with me, which we did. And then let's go do something about it. And so we did, and we started modeling it in our community, especially in those issues where the environment and the poor connected. And that's one of the things I found was, you know, where Jesus was really talking about, you know, I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. Well, you know, I was hungry and you fed me. I mean, these are issues of sustainability. Like if you don't have water, you can feed the poor to drink, you know. You know, this is the separation of the sheep and the goats. This is pretty important for Jesus, you know. And so I challenged the church to be models in our community, as well as in my own life, building a ranch that was somewhat sustainable, where we would grow most of our own food there and use solar energy and do things that where we were adding to the, you know, to the welfare of the earth instead of taking away from it, and not having this kind of entitlement attitude towards what we've been given.
So where can my fans find you online to help with the cause, to help with your effort?
That would be a question more for Will.
Cowboyandpreacher.com. So if you check out the website, you'll find out about the film. There's ways you can help, obviously supporting the film, but also if anyone wants to have the film shown near them, just email us through the website, because we'll bring the film to you. There's no obstacle that we will not be able to overcome. We will, if you want to have the film shown near you, we will get it to you. And if you want to communicate with us, cowboyandpreacher.com, and you'll find everything you need to know.
All right, Will, Pastor Try, thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless.